So what is religion now, and what can it become? I think that religion historically has been the mimetic animal we make for ourselves that fills in the gaps in each of our personal velts. And so for some of us, these gaps are very big, and we call that being religious. For some of us, those gaps are smaller, and we call that having style or tastes. There's another misconception I personally believe people have of religion, which is that any two people have the same one. Everyone has a different velt. Everyone has a different religion. Everyone has their own relationship with their own sacredness. None of these animals are the same. And how could they be? This creature is not made out of things we have labeled. It is made out of the things we have failed to label. Although some do have similarities, if we overlaid those similarities, we might start to get the picture of God or Jesus or Allah or the soul or karma or love, as so many of us tend to share these ideas. But I'm not talking about those creatures anymore. I'm talking about how we interact with them and how we access the thermal vents of wonder that these critters have congregated around. There is a real profound feeling behind what has been labeled as sacred or divine or mystical. The label itself has kept me on several occasions from exploring it, but after having felt it, here's what I think it is. There are times for me, which often take place in nature or with music or with friends, when a direct experience feeds through those arms of our religious animals and into those gaps. Sometimes it happens so dramatically that it forever alters the ceiling of our velts, giving us more space and vision to move about and thrive than ever before. If I ever decide to start using these words again, this is what I would call a spiritual awakening or an encounter with the divine. This is why we ritualize. This is why there are Trekkies and why there is Comic-Con and yoga retreats. Why we clump together with similar garb and choreography and stories. Because this ritual is vital to our humanity. And if you have no ritual, I think you should start looking. Maybe you've been brainwashed not to notice, but you have a brand new holy book. You picked it up years ago. You're devoted to this holy book. You have a personal and telepathic relationship with the people it references. You ritualistically spend your life reading from it. You stare into it to find out who you are and how you should behave and what's important in life and what you believe. It's called a computer. The dangerous thing about this particular book is that you can make it say whatever you want. It can be colorful and edgy. It can be rigid and scientific. It can be a songbook or a history book or a horrid delusional manifesto of vanity and death. But you are what you read. And if you're going to use this tome, start being intentional about it. Organizing your tabs, your feed, finding what inspires you, what makes you wonder, what gets you moving. This is a form of modern calligraphy. Master this art like the monks of old. Deconversion away from someone else's religion is the easy part. Next, you have to tailor your own. There are those who leave an organized religion and consider their work done. They don't realize they're still religious. They're just an ignorant, sheepish member of a different congregation now. And that's the church that gets built on routines that emerge without intention. Part of my personal journey has been appreciating other people's diverse religions and acknowledging that the ownership that they have of their own beliefs was actually several steps ahead of my lack of belief. Irreligion is the most difficult religion to maintain. This year I've been building my own set of temporary gospels, so to speak, websites and authors who inspire and motivate me. And if you're interested, I suggest checking them out. I've started to believe this year that we may never stop the engine in religion's train, and that maybe we shouldn't. Rather, we should start laying new tracks next to the views we want to see and enjoy the ride. And so this is the 3-step method I came up with for doing so. Step 1 is search for something new to explore. What makes you uncomfortable? Are you sad? Are you anxious? Are you a bad dancer? Do you feel disconnected from nature? Decide to expose yourself to your discomforts. Then do it again and again. Genuinely explore that discomfort and test solutions until you get a different result. If you can choose between knowledge and wonder, choose wonder. If you can choose between passion and safety, choose passion. If you can choose the scarier, the more painful, the less certain, that is, the options aren't made for you already, because they often can be, and that's okay too. But if they aren't, choose to stretch. Step 2, ritualize it. Once you find a result, create an exercise around it. Keep a journal, track your progress, take dance lessons, practice yoga, go on hikes, write poetry, make a YouTube series. Waves are great metaphors, I think, because so much of our life is in waves. We see light waves, we hear sound waves. If we graph out how we learn new skills, they would appear to us as waves. Culture happens in waves, music genres happen in waves, emotions come in waves. And where do we want to be on these waves? How do we want to interact with them? Some of us drag behind them, like those of us late to memes and movements and trends, or who feel safer in skills we've already mastered, or who recap our emotional health only years after a trauma. But how does one make the best of riding waves? One places themselves not behind because waves don't pull, and not at their peak because waves don't maintain. One places themselves on the forward face, in front, where the danger of being crushed by its weight is real, and that momentum propels you. I think this is the only way to direct your life in a world of waves. You must live in a state before wisdom, before emotional stagnation, before cultural influences, out of intention rather than necessity. Build your board out of materials buoyant with optimism. Shape it into something fluid dynamic with the sciences and reliable sources. And learn the skill of surfing, leaning, balance, intention, mindfulness. Step 3. Indulge in the beauty this creates. Savor each bite of that healthy meal you made. Laugh hysterically. Fall in love again. And don't forget to indulge in the older beauty you've maybe forgotten. Do all this so that you can enjoy the journey, because joy is a symptom of development. Live in jubilant idiocy as you weave through new interests and skills and relationships. If it's unchallenging, it's unworthy of you. You are a very interesting plane of metaphysics filled with waves of biology and star stuff and trends and history and folk stories and family and romance and Rosa Parks and the invention of the camera phone and local corn, which can only emerge when they bump into one another, when they collide and stand above their peers. The identity we so often believe is continuous is a snapshot of an interference pattern which will never exist again. Don't follow the waves. Don't remorse as they roll away. Don't try to catch up to them. they're gone. Catch the next one, and when that's gone, find a new one. The older you is already gone in a sense, which is only a shame if the older you was unhappy when it was here, just as now, this particular version of you will be gone tomorrow. The only pity in that is the possibility that you won't savor the time this version of you is experiencing. And that with practice, this version of you won't become better at savoring its time. Search out the weird, find the beautiful in it, indulge, repeat. Recently, I was driving through central Pennsylvania with family. In the back seat of the car, I was in the middle of writing for the series. My cousin and my brother were in the front seat. The view outside was incredible. Open fields, a ridge of mountains, sun steadily lowering, clear sky. As we drove, stripes of cornfields rolled up and down past us on either side of the car. It reminded me of sitting in the surf with both of them as kids, waiting to catch a wave on our boogie boards. Only now they weren't pointing out towards the next big swell, but the way the mountain ridge dimmed to a lighter shade of blue as it disappeared down the horizon. My headphones were on, so I couldn't hear everything they were saying, but they did laugh and continued to point. And they missed a murmuration of grackles on our left and a fawn by the highway. And as the Father John Misty song peaked in my headphones and a female choir sanctified his dirty, delicate lyrics, there was no awareness in me that wasn't being fulfilled. I was aware of beauty around me, why it was beautiful, how it was beautiful. In the history of that music, the way the melodies played with my brain, the way the instruments implied a cultural link. In the fullness of my stomach, in the age of the mountains. And I loved them both. A long, lasting love. And none of that was leaving anytime soon. I will never be able to capture that combination of feelings. And it would be gone a moment later, never replicable. Our relationships will change, that song will get old, the sun would set, the food would settle, and we will never be there in that way again. I don't yet live in a way where that feeling is available to me all the time. I'm not sure I would want to. What I want, though, is to live between two states, stretch and bliss. Search out the weird, find the beautiful in it, indulge, and finally